in the present and also in the past. However, I have to tell you that testing like this is it's not infallible, okay? Let me give you some examples. I had a patient once who came in, and she had a cancer. Now, one of the things that people want to do right away when they learn that you can ask the body questions is they want to ask questions like, do I have cancer? To give you an example of how the body can mislead you, okay, and how you can get wrong answers, this patient comes in one day and she has cancer in the colon. Now, she's actually had a sigmoidoscopy, and so she brings in some color photographs of this cancer, and it's about the size of a golf ball, apparently, and it's this red bloody mass in her colon. Color photos, right? And so I thought, okay, well, she's got a cancer, it's been diagnosed, maybe we can help her body while she's going through the medical routine. Maybe we can do some things to help her body deal with this. Maybe we can help her to figure out what the underlying causes are. So naturally, my first thought was, well, let's just make sure that her body is aware that there's a cancer there. Sometimes that's a problem. And I asked her body, do you have a cancer? And the body said no. And I thought, well, now wait a minute, I've got pictures right here. We know you've got one. And so I held up the pictures to her. I said, okay, look at these pictures. And then I asked her body, do you have a cancer? And the body said no. It took me 2 weeks of work to get her body to finally admit or connect up and realize that it had a cancer, or admit that it had a cancer, see? So what I learned from that is that you don't ever want to ask somebody. See, because once you know how to do this work and you can ask the body questions, you've got to be very cautious. Because you'll have people that will hear about that you can do this, and then they'll come to you and they'll say, I want you to test me to see if I have a cancer. I've got a lump in my breast. And then what do? I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole, I would not even go there. Because here's what will happen, okay? If you test them and their body isn't somehow aware or isn't connected up or whatever, or is in denial or whatever and says, no, I don't have a cancer, they may believe that and they may avoid or prolong getting into a doctor and getting care for that. And so then what happens? After they die, the family sues you, right? And maybe me or whatever. So this is something that you want to be really careful about. The other thing that's interesting, okay, is that people will also come to you and they'll say, well, I've got these symptoms and I think I might have lupus or I might have cancer or, fibromyalgia or something like that. Can you ask my body if I have this fill in the blank with some named disease, right? Do I have fibromyalgia? Do I have cancer? Whatever. Your body doesn't work that way. The computer system in your body does not work that way. It doesn't know from named diseases. It doesn't understand that. You can ask your body if it has these various underlying causes of diseases that we covered yesterday. And here's the map of those different things, right? The various problems that can occur. Your body understands if you've got pathogens. It understands, and you can ask that and it'll tell you, okay? You can ask your body if it's got some kind of infection, if it's got structural misalignments, if there's toxicity going on, okay? You can ask those questions. But trust me, if you try asking the body, do you have von Munchkin's disease? And then the brain's not going to have any more idea than you do. Well, no, I don't have that. They may actually have all the symptoms. You know what I mean? You just can't ask about named diseases. You're okay to ask about imbalances. Does that make sense? All right. That's how that works. You've got to be really careful about that. Here's some other things. You want to always ask permission from the body to proceed or go deeper. When I'm testing someone, and we're going to be talking about trapped emotions here pretty soon, but when I'm testing someone, typically the question that I'll ask is, do we need to know more about this trapped emotion before we release it? Okay? We'll cover that later, but you want to be cautious about this because sometimes, first of all, asking the body, it's not a 100% thing. It's a wonderful tool, and questions that you ask the body are they're pretty accurate most of the time. But if there's some major thing going on, for example, the body sometimes will throw you curveballs, okay? Sometimes the body will have this subconscious desire to keep you away from some deep thing that has happened, maybe, somewhere that the subconscious doesn't want to go. And so you might start getting, funny answers. And you just have to be aware of that. When you're just asking about trapped emotions and you're just asking about body imbalances, generally the answers are they're generally pretty accurate. But this testing, it's not 100%. And I just want you to understand that because if you don't understand that, you could get in trouble. Now, one thing that you want to be aware of, too, is something that it's a phenomenon that's called false memories. You want to be aware of asking about abuse because this can really, it's not that a lot of people haven't been abused, but most people don't have a lot of memory of their childhood. And sometimes people are having problems in the present, and an idea can get planted in their mind that, well, you might have been abused as a child, and then they might ask the body. I mean, we had a case one time where there was a young woman who attended one of our seminars who actually did have a history of abuse. And in her mind, everybody was abused. And so she had this belief that was so strong that everybody that she worked on, she would ask them if they'd been abused sexually as a child. And because I think of her deep need to have other people that were in that same sort of boat, she actually, because her will was so strong, everybody that she worked on actually, the answer was yes. She would ask that question, were you sexually abused? And it came out to be yes on everybody. And of course, the vast majority of them probably actually weren't. Most people can't remember things. I don't remember much from my childhood, but I know I wasn't abused. You have to be really, really careful about asking about this, okay? It's better, in my opinion, you're fine to find trapped emotions and release those, and whatever shows up, just go ahead and clear it. But if you start going into this realm of abuse, if you find somebody, if you have a patient that you suspect was sexually abused, or a patient or someone that you're working on, my recommendation is to actually have them get some counseling, have them see someone like Gwen who's trained in these more advanced methods of energetic healing, because you can do tremendous work. You can help people tremendously just by simply asking their body if they have trapped emotions and then by releasing those. And one of the neat things that you'll find about that is that you don't have to go into a whole lot of detail. Okay? They don't have to tell you really anything. Some emotion might show up and they may know very well what it is, and you don't have to go into detail about that. Okay, here are some examples of things that I don't recommend you ask, okay? Examples of things not to ask. Should I divorce my husband or wife, for example? Okay? Not a good thing to ask. You see, understand again, my belief is that this testing, muscle testing, is a gift given to us from God to help us heal each other, okay? To communicate with our subconscious minds. But there's a line there, and you don't want to use this to ask about major life decisions, for example, and things like that. I mean, you can become really neurotic about this. Should I wear my blue shoes today, or should I wear my red ones? Red ones. That can happen. Okay? You shouldn't ask, should I take this job? Should I go to this college? And then we talked about asking if you have some specific disease. No, you just don't want to do that. If you're looking for information, if you're looking for guidance about what you need to do, the best place to ask, the best place to go is really upstairs, I mean, if you're trying to come to some kind of decision about what you need to do, you're at a crossroads in your life, the best thing to do is pray and ask God to guide you. And trust me, He will. And again, it comes back to that same equation. You just have to believe that He'll help you and be grateful that He's helping you. And voila, He helps you. That's how it works. That's what faith is. So here are some things that you are okay to ask. For example, do I have a trapped emotion? Okay. Do I have a trapped emotion that is creating this pain, for example? Do I have a trapped emotion that is creating, or that is, imbalancing me so that I have trouble in my hip or my shoulder or my neck or whatever. You can also ask questions like, do I have a trapped emotion that is interfering with my relationships? That's a very common one, okay? Do I have a trapped emotion that is preventing me from scoring well on this test, you know? Or that is contributing to this problem in my life? Those are questions that you can easily get answers to, and those will lead you immediately to the trapped emotion. And again, we're going to cover the rest of that and go through the mechanics of all that, how it works in a few minutes.